When you look at the Comey indictment, the news tonight on the James indictment, and the use of the DOJ, where you were a prosecutor, in this manner, and we can show some of the assorted faces, what is your view of what's happening?
Well, I think what we're seeing is authoritarianism and tyranny that we're now under, and the disintegration of the rule of law under Pam Bondi's stewardship and her fealty to the president as opposed to her oath of office.
That's a strong word. So you think it's very clear that the Attorney General knows what's going on, knows it to effectively be wrong, and is in a sense violating her oath to the Constitution?
Well, let's parse that out. Her testimony was that there would be no enemies list at the Justice Department. Clearly there is. Does she know what's going on? She was directly ordered by the president to bring these charges. Did she appoint Lindsay Halligan to be the U.S. attorney, even though she was unqualified and the appointment was illegal? Yes. So my answer to all your questions is absolutely. You
mentioned the Halligan appointment. That's something we've covered. This is the newly installed, inexperienced U.S. attorney bringing both the cases, James and Comey. Do you think that could be a problem for those cases? Do you think she is not legally, validly serving in that post right now, effectively bringing her prosecutions into question?
I do believe that to be the case. There's only one opinion on this issue issued thus far in the existence of Section 546, and that was written by Justice Alito when he was Assistant Attorney General in 1986. That makes it very clear that after serving 120 days, only the district court has the authority to appoint a new U.S. attorney, and that didn't happen here.
When you were working at the Trump White House, you, of course, were there during a period where the Comey history and other clashes were paramount. What do you think of this indictment of Comey on the merits? And what, if anything, might you tell us about that period of time? Because there was such a high-end clash. It was almost perhaps one of Donald Trump's first big clashes over who was in charge and whether the rules would hold.
My involvement in the Comey events at the White House is not something I'm ethically allowed to discuss, but I think Comey, as we all know now, has many detractors. He's controversial, but this indictment is so unworthy of the Justice Department, as we've known it in the past, as trying to be even-handed and put no person above the law, and not to exercise retaliation. Keep in mind that seasoned, experienced federal prosecutors concluded there was insufficient evidence to indict Comey. He was the lead prosecutor in that regard was fired, according to Trump, resigned according to him, but he's gone, and the reason he's gone is because he didn't bring the indictment against Comey. He was replaced by a Trump loyalist and personal attorney who promptly did bring an indictment against Comey without the support of her office. And in fact, her support there is so weak that she had to go a couple of hundred miles just to find attorneys within the Department of Justice who could choke down the humiliation of trying to represent the United States in this farcical prosecution.
When you look at this second term, Donald Trump, how does it contrast, if at all, from the president you served and either him or the structure and the administration around him in the first term?
Well, I think in terms of the structure, you had people of character in the White House. General Kelly, certainly, in the cabinet, General Mattis, Nikki Haley, Steve Mnuchin. There were a lot of senior people, smart people, people who loved the country, and were there for their independent judgment and to try to help the president understand where the guardrails were and what the lanes were. That doesn't exist now. I think, this term, the president feels unleashed. It clearly is his belief that he's entitled to do whatever it is he wants. And once he decides what he wants, the only issue is how quickly can you do this for me? Pam Bondi delivered Comey and now has delivered James. Hopefully America will understand that that's not really what the country was supposed to be about. It shouldn't be what it's about, and ideally, it's something that people will rise up and unite and push back on.
Well, you're clearly using your voice and your experience to do that. What would you say to the people who still work inside either the White House, which is one thing, or agencies in the DOJ where they do take an oath to uphold the Constitution? They are not supposed to and are not empowered to do things in DOJ or the military, particularly that affect people's liberty and life, that are contrary to their oath and the law.
So I'm not really qualified to give advice to the federal employees writ large, but I will say that in my experience, most of the people serving the government are there because they enjoy the service. They enjoy performing their duties and honoring their oath. They enjoy helping people and trying to make the government work in a way that promotes America as a whole. I think it's very difficult for them to try to break ranks or resign. I think those are all, major life decisions that nobody should be telling them to do. They can only make that decision with their own conscience. And, of course, everybody that leaves the government or puts themselves in a position to be fired, weakens the government because they're not going to be replaced by competent people. They're going to be replaced by loyalists and tools. Yeah.
And as you say, that's something that people who take this seriously have to balance. I want to turn to the wider questions of the rule of law and the military powers that Donald Trump is trying to seize or expand. This was an exchange that got a lot of notice. It was posed as a question by a reporter, but it has since been reflected in other reporting as something that perhaps is being mulled inside the White House. Take a look.
Are you planning to invoke the Insurrection Act?
Well, it's been invoked before, as you know. If you look at Chicago, Chicago's a great city where there's a lot of crime. And if the governor can't do the job, we'll do the job.
The Insurrection Act, is that going to be formally invoked? Is that a way to kind of get around all this opposition?
Well, it is a way to get around it. If we don't have to use it, I wouldn't use it. If you take a look at what's been going on in Portland, it's been going on for a long time, and that's insurrection. I mean, that's pure insurrection.
Your view of the legality of that and whether, based on your knowledge, you think this White House is serious about getting to that point?
Oh, I think the White House is very serious about using any lever of government that inflates Trump's sense of his power and allows him to assert the level of control that he and his team want to assert in America. So yes, I think he is likely to invoke that at some point. And sadly, there is very little law or analysis that would restrain him if he chose to do so. The act is written in a way that both sides have known for years is a little bit reckless. Attempts to remedy the act have not gone very far in Congress, although there have been a few, and a few recently. It's an act that clearly does need to be revised, but I think he'll invoke it, and if he needs it, if he does, it will be difficult to stop his occupation of America and the encouragement that he gave generals recently to start practicing their soldiering in American cities against Americans.
So what does that look like? You view what you just referenced and the early sort of military deployments and skirmishes as a deliberate blueprint for what? Where would that go under the president?
That's an excellent question. I think many commentators have suggested that it may go toward his ultimate desire, perhaps not in 2026, but in 2028, to ensure that power passes to his chosen successor, as opposed to the free and fair elections that we've been treated to throughout history.
Yeah. So you view it as a legitimate concern, not a movie nightmare scenario, that these current skirmishes would be building up to more widespread use of the military to distort or subvert the 2028 election and transfer of power if he were to lose? if the Republican Party were to lose?
I think just because it's a nightmare, which it is, as we're enduring now, doesn't make it not legitimate. I think it is something that people need to be vigilant about and question throughout. I don't think anybody ever anticipated the rule of law would disintegrate as rapidly as it has under Trump and Bondi. I think we're suffering now because of that, now that we have an enemies list in the Justice Department, despite Pam Bondi's assurance to Congress when she was being confirmed, and now that she's executing it on behalf of the president. So yes, I'm very concerned. I think people should be concerned.
Understood. I think people are listening. There's a host of cases where Donald Trump has been losing in the lower courts and would be normally on track to lose in the Supreme Court because he's not following the rule of law where, as you well know and you've worked on this, lawyers will tell the president, well, the Constitution forbids that. So writing an executive order flatly against it isn't going to work. You don't get to rewrite the Constitution that way. You're going to lose. It's going to take energy and resources. Here it's the opposite. We've heard about flooding the zone and the other things. The birthright citizenship case is one example. Federal appeals court ruled the president cannot end that because it's in the Constitution. The Fifth Court since June blocking those types of orders. And yet he plows ahead. Can you help us understand that, having worked around for him and around him, and what do you see heading towards the Supreme Court, at least on those cases that seem fairly clear?
So I'm not sure my personal experience assists much more than just the obvious facts there, which is birthright citizenship is guaranteed to anybody born in the United States.